Now from Atlanta News First Plus, this is Sports Tonight.
What's up, everyone? Welcome into Sports Tonight. Emily Gagnon here. It is Monday, June 24th. We're almost to July. We'll be celebrating July 4th next week, this month, this year. Everything going by so fast. As a matter of fact, we're already to the NBA draft. That is what we're going to start off with tonight. On Wednesday, the Hawks will pick 1 overall at Barclays Center in Brooklyn. That's where this year's draft is. We do know as of now that the Hawks have decided to keep the pick. Sometimes, you like to trade it, you like to see what you can get for it, but the Hawks, they're going to try their hand and they're going to hope to be able to pick somebody very good at 1 overall. But we did hear from the general manager, Landry Fields. We've heard from him several times leading up until Wednesday. We'll hear from him again Wednesday before the draft and after the draft he'll explain why they made the pick that they made. And obviously ahead of the draft, he might update us and say, hey, we're not keeping the pick. I would be surprised if he said that. But let's hear a little bit about what he has to say ahead of Wednesday's draft in New York.
Oh my! So, let me put this here. It's good to see everyone. To the fathers out there, happy belated Father's Day. This process has been a really fun and energizing one, and our group has done a terrific job, not just recently, but dating all the way back to when a lot of these players for the draft have been in high school, not just as seniors, but as juniors. So it's really cool to see their evolution and how far they've come and just the positions that they put themselves in, and for us to be here and get a chance to see them live and in person and getting to know them through interviews and through just intel assignments has been really, really interesting. But at the same time, there is a great energy around this group for where we're at currently and what we want to continuously do here in Atlanta. So couldn't be more proud of the group, the support that we've had from top down to continue on in this process of building out things. So we're about, a week away, week and a half away. So we'll continue on, but we've definitely gotten closer and further down the line. So we'll be ready next week for the 2 days. So with that, I'll open it up.
So just touching on, you talked about the interviews and getting to know these players. I know discretion has kind of been a big thing for you guys this year, but what has been kind of a common thread with some of the prospects that you guys have been able to bring in?
Common thread has really been about fit. It's been right through this past year and a half, really nailing down some characteristics that are important to us. Now, it doesn't necessitate that every single player is going to fit every single one. I mean, like that's a tall task for anybody. But using that as a guiding light and understanding like the who and the ethos that we want to build around here. And it's a continuous process. Like I'll probably always be here saying like we're building and it doesn't matter where we're at from a wins and losses perspective. But that's been the common thread, is just looking at every individual and weighing it against some of these ideals, you could say, and how they fit for us going into the future.
What has jumped out about some of those guys as far as the ethos and who they are?
Yeah, it's actually just really like good guys, like good people in this draft. And it doesn't mean like it's not always like that, but it really has been neat to kind of see, especially the guys that are all projected to be at the top and guys that we've had in, taking them to dinner and speaking with them, whether it's in Chicago, here in the building, on Zoom, elsewhere. I mean, like we've had so many different mediums to do this, and just to get to know them more and more outside of just the intel that you gather around them. It's just some really good guys.
How many guys are we talking about?
Quite a few.
You have a number?
Nope.
How locked in is your board, and what would it take for player B to jump player A at number 1?
Yeah, it's a good question. I would say a week ago it was wider than it is now. The board is definitely shaping up, tearing itself out. So in order to be number 1, he's just the guy that we see is a great fit for us, not just for the next day, but for the future as well.
How busy is your phone, and when do you expect that to continue to ring? Is it, in your experience, is it the day before, because you guys haven't had the number one, you kind of don't know what you don't know?
Yeah, it's definitely been ringing. I got a little time off yesterday because it was Father's Day, but for the most part, it continuously rings, and we make outgoing calls as well just to see what the rest of the landscape is looking like.
You're talking about fit and characteristics.
Yeah.
What are some of those? I know you're not going to give us a blueprint.
Yeah.
But overall, what are some of the things that you want to see stand out when you're talking to somebody?
Yeah, for sure. Unselfishness is one that is pretty high for us, and it doesn't always mean like completely bypassing everything you do. When we talk about humility, it's just about the ability to own the gold and the dirt, and just kind of living into that more and more. Quinn's talked a lot about competing at a high level, just your everyday grind. In every possession over the course of a game, like those should matter to you. Like that's competing. Being connected, unity is another big piece. Like so, those two merging together. And finally, like perseverance or like a grittiness. It's a long season. There's going to be ups and downs. So, who are you when pressure starts to level up? Like that's who we want to see these players become and what they're going to look like during that process. But those would be some core ones, I would say.
What's the collaboration process between you guys in the front office and Quinn and what he's looking for to add to the court?
Highly collaborative. Me personally, I enjoy hearing different perspectives. Your vantage point's going to be different than mine. So how do you see this? Can we take those and then put them together and make the best informed decision as possible? And so that's not just with our front office, but that's with our coaches as well.
What about a fit as far as DeJounte and Trey is concerned? Is that in the mix at all, or are you thinking in those terms?
Yeah, you always, it doesn't matter if it's Trey, DeJounte, Bogey, Beat, like anybody that's on our roster, like all comes within any fit analysis and whatnot. So it's not just two guys.
Have any of the current players, speaking on Trey and DJ, have they sat in on any of the workouts or gave you guys any feedback on who they potentially see fitting with the roster?
If there's anybody, in the gym, this is their home during one of our workouts, then yeah, absolutely, they're more than welcome to stay and join and watch. But if they're here, they're here.
You only have one pick in this draft. How does that factor into decisions you must make on some of these phone calls as to what you do with number one and whether it makes sense to trade for more picks?
I think there's more to that than just having one. I mean, it's just looking at where are we at from a roster standpoint, how many roster spots do we project to have available. All seeps into that. The new cap environment is a big thing too. It's how you're spending your money is definitely going to add or hinder you from a roster building perspective. So all factors into it for sure.
If I can follow up, you spoke of having tiers. That doesn't mean you have them all on one same peg, but you have to, do you have to have a clear idea in your mind that there's an unquestioned number one?
Sorry, what do you mean?
Do you have to have it clear in your mind that there's a clear number one and he's just not just part of a tier where a lot of several players are on the same level?
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah. Eventually, you'll narrow it down to your guy, for sure.
Because there's not a victor in this draft, there's the narrative that it's a down draft. Is that a lazy take, that the talent from this draft is not comparable to years past because there's not no name, so to speak, out there?
Is it a lazy take? I don't know. We're in a great position to really do deep dives. I think we're really excited by the draft, and the more that we uncover, like we go, great, I'm glad we have number one. I keep joking around like I'm not giving it back. So I think we're in a really good position here. I'm excited about it, frankly.
It's been a little over a month since the team announced Ansi Sala coming on and joining the front office.
Yeah.
What does he bring to the table, and why did you find it necessary to add another voice in the room as an assistant GM?
People that, good people, and they fit a lot of the culture that we're building here, is always going to be a great thing for us. I knew Ansi back when I was working with San Antonio, so to watch his progression from there to Golden State and a lot of the strategy and just his viewpoint on basketball was going to be great for our group to add. So putting him in a position to lead more just felt like the right move for him in his own development, and he's been great with us so far. Like, he's really been fantastic.
I know it might not be a fair comparison because the NFL has so many more picks and so many more players on their roster, but you talk to teams and they look for a quarterback, they'll bring in 8 quarterbacks and they'll ask them questions like in the red zone specifically, what's your favorite play? And they get that intel, so if they don't play him down the road, whether it's a year or 2 years down the road, they might be in the red zone, and this is the guy we like. And remember, is there something you can do when you bring guys in, like those types of questions, either it's favorite moves, favorite plays, where you bottle that information and save it for down the road?
I'll have to, you want to present that question a different way? What do you mean exactly?
Well, just, when you talk to these guys, if you could have, 5 guards in here, you might not need, you're definitely not looking to draft guards 2, 3, and 4, 5, but you're looking for a nugget, some information when they maybe become a free agent down the road, those type of things, like little inside baseball stuff that you have the opportunity to shelve it and use that content, or not content, but those nuggets down the road.
Got it. Totally understand. No, it's a good question. And like the more information that we have, like the better. To kind of look back to with whatever information we have today and weigh it against any future decisions when we get there. It's just nice. It's just kind of see how things evolve for certain players over time, for sure.
What's the hardest part of this entire process? Like, in your perspective, obviously a lot of us have never been in your shoes going through this process. What's the hardest part?
What's the hardest part about this process? There's always challenges. I think really it comes down to when you have X number of players, when you look at them, you're like, we can make a case for him, we can make a case for him, make a case for him. Like, where do you finally nail it down? It's a challenge in the sense that it's just like, oh, here's the guy, but it really it's an opportunity, especially for our group, on how we are continuously being collaborative in our process. So it's hard to say there's the hardest thing where I sit here and go oh, I'm really dreading that. There's nothing like that. It just presents its challenges. New data comes in. So how are you weighing that against things that you've already learned?
Have you learned something about you guys as a unit of how you're able to collaborate and communicate? Like, is there something that's come up where you're like, wow, we're really strong in this area, or something along those lines?
We love basketball. I would really say that, and I don't mean to say that in a joking manner. It's hard to say, well, work ended at 5 and that's it. We have a bunch of communication, whether it's through watching playoff basketball or just things that come up if there's a random idea. I think that's what's really neat about our group, is just the love that we have for the craft of it.
Landry, there's as much of an opportunity as the number 1 pick is. I think you just look at history, that hasn't always panned out, for teams that have used it. And I'm curious, is there wisdom in trading back just so you can get more chances and hopefully getting one of these picks pans out?
Yeah, so we as a group, we've looked at a ton of different scenarios. Like, if you keep the pick, you try to get back into the draft, you move back, all the things that you're talking about. And with where we're at right now, we'll pick one. But yeah, it would be, I don't think it would be wise for us not to go over those scenarios, but there's been a ton that we've gone over, and we'll continuously go over those as well, even ones that may present later on with different team talks that we've had.
Would you say you're pretty committed to using to keeping it?
Yeah, so today we're planning on picking one.
As far as
All right, guys, so that was GM Landry Fields for the Hawks talking about this upcoming draft. It's happening Wednesday, Barclays Center. Our live coverage starts tomorrow from New York. Sports Director Bailey Burmaster will be there, bringing you all the latest moves the Hawks make. So they do have the number 1 overall pick, and as of now, they're going to keep it. Moving on to the Dream. The Atlanta Dream have lost 3 in a row. It's been a tough stretch for them, however. I'll give it to them because it was 9 games. Over the span of 9 games, they faced Caitlin Clark twice. They also faced the top team in the Western Conference. All 3 of those games were losses. They did get 1 in that 9-game span, 1 win. But then last night, they played the Liberty, one of the best teams in the East. So right now they're playing a very tough schedule. And they get a little break, though, I will say. They get this entire week to regroup. They don't play again until Friday. And they will play the Connecticut Sun Friday. And they're one of the top teams in their conference. They only have 3 losses. They're at 13-3. So right now, the Dream are just going through it. And Tanisha Wright, the head coach, is not so pleased with her team's effort. She says you can't coach effort. That's just one of those things, right? So she wants to see the little things done right by her players. That's what she's asking her players to do because, I mean, right now that's what they need to do, the little things right that will add up to the big things, which are wins. But let's hear from her. Let's hear what she has to say as this team gets a few days off before having to play the Suns on the road.
Excellent. All right, guys, we're going to start off as usual. Please going to make some opening comments and then we'll go to questions.
I thought our effort and energy in the second half was much better than it was in the first. Our goal right now and our focus right now is try to find small ways to get better. And so that's what we have to focus on. We can't look at big picture right now because we need to put together small little things to make us a better team. So when we start getting better in those small areas where we want to focus on, I think that'll help make us a better team.
Go ahead, Michelle. Hey, coach. I just wanted to know what you thought.
I thought it was good. I thought she had good energy coming in. I thought her energy kind of changed the tide for us down the stretch. And she came in and she executed the way she was supposed to execute.
Yeah, Coach, just wanted to talk about, you always talk about playing inside out. There was 40 points in the paint tonight. What did you think about their efforts?
I thought they were intentional about that, understanding that I thought we had a advantage playing inside out. We had some good ball movement, I think, in the first half. We had a couple possessions where we really moved the ball really well. I think we had another one in the second where I think Nia ended up getting a corner 3 or something like that, where we were able to move the ball. So as long as that's a focus of us, right, playing inside out, whether it's on the drive or on the pass, right, we'll get good looks. There's times where we're standing around and we're just looking at each other. Anytime where we're trying to play one-on-one doesn't bode very well for us. So we have to use our skill set to play as a team.
The head coach basically shooting at 71% clip. What do you feel about that first half? What did you see as far as defenses? What was it that just wasn't quick enough to set?
Sometimes it's just not being sharp, right? Sometimes it's not being sharp. Sometimes it's not executing the way we want to guard people. Like there's nowhere ever in our game plan where we were supposed to go under on Sabrina Ionescu. I'm not goofy enough to make a game plan, right, where I would go under on a kid like that who shoots the ball. So when we have missed slaps and different things like that, right, I also thought we turned the ball over too much. And when we turned the ball over, they made us pay almost every single time in transition. And so, because we didn't turn it over a lot, but the fact that we did turn it over, they made us pay. So that just opens up easy opportunities for your opponent. So we have to be a team that can really execute the game plan to a T and then limit our mistakes so that people don't take advantage of them.
Coach, I just want to ask you, what were some positives that you saw from your team today?
Yeah.
And of course, you think that you guys want to work on. You got a couple days to rest up.
Yeah.
Going back to that Friday.
Well, we were able to out-rebound them. That's always a positive. Offensive rebounding, I thought we did a good job of that. I thought we did a pretty good job of playing in transition. Really tried to push the pace and focus on that. I think some areas where we really need to work on is we have to be more intentional about going to box people out so they're not getting second opportunities. And so it doesn't demoralize our defense. So when we have a good defensive possession, right, but then it ends with a offensive rebound to a kick out to resetting and getting an extra offensive possession, I think that demoralizes you sometimes, and it's harder to get your mental right to now play another possession of defense. So we have to do a better job of that. I think we can do a better job of being in our help side as well. So those are some areas that I think we can take the next couple of days and really try to work on.
Coach Jonathan from Real Talk Sports. Two things. Number one, a late congratulations for being named to the Olympic team.
Thank you.
And what does it say about this fan base? You guys down by 30, we start to make a run. Every defensive play, crowd on their feet. What does it say about the fans and your supporters?
Yeah, the fans have been great. You know, my cry out to them was stick with us. You know what I mean? Just stick with us. We're gonna get this thing together. We're gonna keep working. We're gonna work our behinds off. They come out each and every game and really support our athletes. And so don't give up on us. We're gonna keep working till we get to a place where they deserve that type of team. And so we're just gonna keep working our butts off.
Go ahead, Greg.
Another positive was Tina. Does it even surprise you the things that she does on a night-to-night basis?
Tina's a competitor. At the end of the day, her competitive nature is so high, which you understand. You understand why she's Olympian. You understand why she's a future Hall of Famer, because she's a competitor. She doesn't give in. She doesn't give in to the mental things like being tired, being fatigued. She shows up every single day and does her job. And so, no, it doesn't surprise me because she's a competitor.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, this question's actually for LA. You had a block party out there that's been saw, so we just wanted to get your thoughts on like what you were thinking and how good it feel for CP to come over and touch ball.
Yeah, I think it was one of our keys to be in the help side. So, you know, that's what I do. But I love my teammates. I think they're great energy for me. So just being able to be out there and help them out, I think that was always great for me.
Just to see Jordan back out there, what was that like with the team to see her, trying to play out every day? Another point guard that like to run and push like yourself.
Yeah, I know it was hard for JC to sit out all those months. She's been working hard, so she deserves every moment that she got out there. You know, her standing ovation when she subbed in, cheering for her when she get the and one. JC is going to be a big part to what we do moving forward, so it's good to see her out there on the floor.
Go ahead, Jonathan and Nick already touched on it, like, just to have the crowd kind of like, it seemed like the crowd that you like when you started playing golf, stuff like that. How that look?
It's always appreciated. I think that the fans stick with me throughout everything. You know, they always encouraging me after games, win or loss, or even if I don't play, you know, they're always there and backing me up. So that gives me new life every day. And, you know, just to be able to go out there and, you know, provide or do anything I can for the team, I think it's always great when the crowd's in it.
Just for anyone, what would you say is the mindset going out on the road facing Connecticut and the Liberty again?
Yeah, the mindset is to get better. I mean, we can't focus on big picture stuff right now. I think we have too many areas of growth that we need to get better in to really think about bigger things, right? We have to get better in small areas before we can start doing those other things. And I think once we do that, then we'll slowly start getting back to where we think we can be.
What small thing did you like approach this?
Yeah, simple. Boxing out. Right. That should be a focus. Like physically going to box out every single opportunity that we get, being intentional about that. Being in help when we're supposed to be in help. When the ball's on one side of the floor, being in help when we're supposed to be there, not late. Keeping the ball in front of us, right? Before we can worry about schematics and different strategies and different things like that, we have to be able to do the basic things. We have to be able to be better at the basic things of basketball. Those are things that as a coaching staff, I can't necessarily help them do, right? I can come up with strategy. I can come up with schemes and different things like that to help us be better and to win games. But until we get better at those small things, right, it's going to be hard to win games. So when we start making jumps and leaps in those things, and they're not small things, but for us, like scheme doesn't matter if we're not going to box out. You know what I mean? Like scheme does matter if we're not going to be in the gap when we're supposed to be in the gap. Does that make sense? So those are things that we have to readjust and refocus on before we can worry about more bigger things.
I think we're good.
Good.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that was Tanisha Wright and a couple of her players after their loss yesterday. 3 losses in a row, but as I said earlier, they do have some time to regroup here with a few days off. No games throughout this week. They don't play again until Friday. Moving on to Atlanta United. They're still trying to figure things out. Rob Valentino, still very much the interim manager. He's 3 games deep now as interim. They have 2 draws and 1 win, so anything's better than a loss. Over the weekend, they got a draw against St. Louis. But yeah, they're still trying to he says that he hasn't changed anything. He's trying to keep things consistent for the players. They don't want to do too many different things, but they want to figure out, why they can't win. But let's hear from him after their loss, or their draw, I apologize, over the weekend at St. Louis.
All right, guys, Rob is here. We got some media in the room. We'll start in the room as always, and then if we have time, we'll go to Zoom. Doug, lead us off.
Just in kind of a theme from the past few games, considering the circumstances, no Almada, 4 homegrowns in the roster. Is this a point that you're proud of tonight, or are you disappointed that you couldn't get all 3?
I mean, the outcome is always the goal that we have for the outcome is always the same. We always want to win. So 3 points is what we're always going for, no matter home, away, who's on the field, who's not on the field. So, yeah, I think you'll always have a little bit of disappointment. But what I will say is that before the game, and even in going into the road trip, but before the game, we talked about some things, and I saw that out there. And yeah, we bent a little bit, but we never broke. And I think that I hope that this carries us a long way. It wasn't pretty. It's not exactly how we want to see games, but these are 2 opponents that play in a way that make it really difficult. And I think, to answer your question, yeah, I am proud. I am proud of them.
The Jay Fortune tonight, to me, I thought had an immense game. He's a guy who doesn't get a lot of consistent starts because of the talent ahead of him on the depth chart. But how important was he to getting the result tonight?
Yeah, he was big. I think that he is always nipping at these guys' heels, and that's the best thing about having a roster that we have, or having a team, is that you want competition. And this is the competition we want, that these guys know that this kid is right there on their heels, and he deserves an opportunity. I talked to him right before the game. I've talked to him, had multiple conversations as the weeks have kind of gone on, and he knows that there's opportunity, and I think he pushes really hard in a way, in a respectful way, but he also knows that he can step in and do a job. So I think it, again, creates really good competition. Not everyone's going to play every game, and there will be people unhappy all the time, and that's the nature of it. But how we handle ourselves, and when the moment comes, can you really step up, and Jay shows that.
And just why 2 strikers tonight, and how do you think that was executed?
Yeah, we adapted a little bit within it. When we talked to them before the game about having to be able to be adaptable with that, we started with a front 3, I would call it, and then from there we started to see some different movements, and different ways we would have to defend would be sometimes 2, sometimes 1 underneath, and then in the game, I felt like we were getting cut open too much in the middle, and it was not working, and so that's why we tried to get a 3rd midfielder on, and then go with the 2 up top. So, and also to hit him in transition, because we knew it was going to be a transitional game, and we couldn't avoid that we wanted to try to counter that and hurt them in transition, and we did at times. Shonda picked up the ball at that very end for the the pass into Daniel Rios, so there's an opportunity. So, yeah, we adapted from the front 3 to the 2. It was more about the midfield and the work that they put in. So, and I mean that's a big credit to them, all of them.
Was always the plan coming in to get Stian 45?
As many minutes as we can. Obviously, we look at each game as it is, and I think that's the part of the coaching part of it, that we all as a staff were looking at what's in front of us, and I think we were evaluating, was he ready to start a game? What are the rest of the guys' legs look like? How fresh are they going to be? Because for me, that was a big part of it. How fresh can we be going into the game? And then making sure that Stian's on the pitch and he stays on the field. We want guys to stay healthy. So it was never the plan, hey, let's just get him 45. It was more about what the game gives, and yeah, it's good to see him get back out there, and hopefully we can keep him out healthy and on the field.
All right, guys, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for joining us on this Monday for Sports Tonight, but we will certainly be back tomorrow, and we're going to continue to talk about the NBA draft with the Hawks. That's a huge deal this week, and we'll bring you the latest. Thanks so much. Have a good night.